Hi, I'm Annie Botticelli, and welcome to my February 2019 horoscope report for you. Go to anniehelpsyou.com to check out my blog and all kinds of other goodies on my site, including enrollment for my astrology apprenticeship program if you'd love to learn astrology with me. Also, if you'd love to be a coach as your profession and bring your business online, my coach certification and online business training course is enrolling now. And I have launched my new publishing company, Luminous Life Publishing, Books and Beyond, and along with it, my new book, Radical Prayer, Transform Your Life and the World in 28 Days. So you can see more about this prayer book that is for all denominations at anniehelpsyou.com. So February is one of my most favorite months of the whole year of 2019 for so many things, for launches. Also, we've got 3 times the sweetness, 3 times as many sweet aspects this month. It is an amazing time to do anything important until around February 18th when we start shifting into Mercury retrograde shadow period. So I've got lots and lots of details about my favorite days to do important things, plus a massive amount of details specifically for you and your sign. So let's look at those details now. Hello Aries friends, welcome to my February report for you for 2019. I'm trying something different on here within my new version of my reports. As you have seen, I'm going very much into technical details, catering to people who love to learn astrology. But I am going to give you just a quick overview that is not technical. For those of you who are my infamously impatient Aries friends and don't want to listen to the whole video to get the gist, or if you're someone who's not interested in learning astrology. So if you are an astrology student or want to know more about the details, juicy details, and you're not a student but you still want to know more juicy details, then just give me a couple of minutes here to do this quick overview, and I promise we'll have a wonderful astrological adventure. But quick overview of the month. One of my favorite months of the whole year for doing anything important. Towards the end of the month, Mercury will go into retrograde shadow, a pre-shadow period. So I love before the, by the 19th to do anything important. And I will give you the dates I love. If you want to fast forward to the end of the general transit, I'll give you the dates to watch for better and worse. But in general, I really love February for Aries because when the personal planets are in Aquarius, this makes 60-degree angle to Aries placements. So that's a beautiful, sweet aspect that enhances, fire and air tend to complement each other. So it tends to be busy, it tends to be productive, it tends to be action-oriented. And I know if you're anything like me, I have Aries rising. I love action. So the times that are less action-oriented, I'm not as comfortable. So in general, the first 3 weeks of the month are going to be in this nice flow. And then when the sun starts to get and the energies start to get into Pisces, that starts to get a little uncomfortable for Aries placements sometimes, unless you're an Aries person that has a bunch of Pisces placements, because then you will have more resonance with this time. But for the purely Aries energies, towards the end of the month, when the planets start getting in that emotional, watery, mushy, introspective, internal Pisces energy, it's just not as comfortable. And we can learn to appreciate it and say, okay, this is a time to rest, this is a time to relax, this is a time to go in. But if you're not looking to do that, it can be a little bit awkward. If you are looking for a rest, I love the end of February for a rest, for a retreat, for, anything like that. Because if you've been listening to my reports, I've been kind of pushing you saying, hey, end of December, all of January, all of February till around the 19th are some of my favorite launching opportunities for anything important. And I know myself, I'm going to be pushing right through to February 19th. And then I'm going to go, okay, now I'm going to relax a little bit. And I'm going to use that Pisces energy to rest and take my own good advice because we know it's coming. That's why I like to let you know these things are coming. It's kind of like grandparents having kids come over. You can keep your breakables out, but that's only going to be stressful and dramatic. So if you know the kids are coming, just put the breakables away and put the mats down that aren't white. You know what I'm saying? That's why we talk about this beforehand. Okay, so that's my quickie need to know for you impatient Aries friends. Now, if you'd like to see more details that are also super simple about the month of February, go to cozybysweetstarlight.com. This is where I do written horoscopes talking about, and this for each sign, talking about different things than I talk about in the videos. So you'll get some of the general overview goodies, but then you'll get very short, succinct, hey, what am I working with this month? CozyBySweetStarlight.com. And okay, so bye to those of you who are done. Now, for the rest of you who want more details about Aries and juicy, yummy, early, middle, and late degree placements and looking at the charts and astrology lessons, then now is your time to shine here. Okay, so let's figure out if you're an early, middle, or late degree placement. There are 30 degrees in the sign of Aries, and where you are in that designation can determine what your chart looks like. It will stagger the effects of the planetary transits, sometimes by days, sometimes by weeks, sometimes by years. Okay, so that's why we learn this. I'm an astrology teacher at heart, and I want to teach you astrology so that we have an astrologically literate populace. That is one of my goals. So you are an early degree placement, pretty much the March born, or 0 to 9 degrees if you're watching for your rising or moon, or you know your sun degree. Middle degree Aries, April 1st through the 10th or so. 10 to 19 degrees if you're watching for your moon rising or you know your sun sign degree. Late degree Aries, April 11th through the rest of the sign, or 20 through 29 degrees. And these are not exact because the sun doesn't move into Aries on the same day every year, so that can stagger some of these, but it's close enough. You know, it's close enough, and for our purposes of what we're doing. Okay, so now that we know where you are, and if you didn't catch that, just rewind it. Okay, now we're going to talk about 2 planets this month. One, super easy, fun, light, quick-moving, short-term influence, Venus. The second is Saturn, stodgy, long-term, kind of complicated. We're going to talk about where these planets are for early, middle, and late degree placements, what you can expect as they move through these sectors. But first, I want to help you understand what you're looking at here. All of these planets, this looks like a mess, right? You look at this and you're like, how the heck are you going to help anybody with that, right? But if you just break it down little by little, each of these glyphs is like a person at a party or in a certain area of your life, a person in your house, a person in your, like different areas. The houses are the areas of your life. And then the planets are like the people there. And then the sign is like the energy that they're bringing besides their native energy. The kinds of things they're bringing, the tone that they're bringing. I always like to use an analogy of Clue. My friends who played the Clue board game back in the day. Okay, so the planet is the whodunit. It is a murder mystery game. The sign is with what? Weapon. And the house is where in the house this act was done. Okay, so I'm going to say the professor did it with the candlestick in the conservatory, right? That's kind of like how we weave together these stories here. So in order to better understand what these planets bring when they move through these sectors of our lives, we have to understand the archetypal energy. So I've made these fun, short lessons for you for Venus and Saturn. So I'm just going to pop those in right now. And then once you understand Venus and Saturn better, then we'll talk about where they're at for each of you and how that can manifest. So let's check that out now. Okay, so when we're thinking about Venus or any planet, it really helps to understand the energetic expressions of the planets, the archetypal expressions of the planets, by thinking of them as people. They have personalities. So each planet has multiple facets that make up its expression. Okay, so Venus always reminds me of my Grandma Marge. And my Grandma Marge, if you can imagine, okay, she's Italian. She's she was always seemed like she was smaller than me, even when I was a child. So when I would come to see her, she would run up to me with her hands up in the air, grab me by the face, kiss me on the mouth, say, I love you. She'd also tell all the grandkids how beautiful they are. Venus rules love. Venus rules compliments and self-esteem. She would then slip $5 in my pocket. Venus also rules money. And she would come at me with a fork and a meatball and pop a meatball in my mouth. Venus also rules sustenance, physical sustenance, and also emotional sustenance. So that feeling of being cared for, of being full, of being content. And it also rules aesthetics. So when we go into her house, there'd be this feeling of comfort and harmony and peace, which are also things that Venus rules. So it's like a cozy, warm, safe place with all of these energies wrapped up into it. So now you can understand Venus better, and you can always think of my grandma March. So whenever Venus is moving through an area, the energy of the sign it's moving through will, flavor all of this. And then, of course, the house that it's moving through will show the field of experience that Venus will bring these potential blessings for the individual. Okay, so the house placement is going to be different for different people. And so we look to see what house Venus is moving through to see where these energies are having an increase in likelihood. Okay, so understanding the archetype of the Saturnian energy can help us understand the potentials that Saturn brings when it is moving through wherever it is in the chart for us. So every placement, every sign, every planet has this range of potential expressions from lowest to highest. On the lower end, Saturn can bring hardship and difficulties and obstacles and challenges, feeling like you're walking through mud. It also very often comes with the experience of pressure. Pressure always makes me think of the pressure necessary to make a diamond, because that's what Saturn's trying to do. It's not just trying to torture you, Saturn is the taskmaster. It's stern. You can kind of just imagine. I always think of like a stern father, or a really grandfather, like a grandfatherly energy that's stern. The energy often comes with wealth, the accomplishment of the Saturnian path. It's a wealthy taskmaster, stern and just sort of serious. So that it brings that energy. However, there is the other side. Okay, so the upper end of Saturn is that it can bring accomplishments. Okay, I'm going to just abbreviate accomplishments, fruition. It can bring things into form. So ideas, wishes, dreams that are up in the ethers, just kind of in the clouds. It can like gel them into form. And so Saturn transits can actually be times of great accomplishment, recognition, and gelling, like coming together. Many people experience Saturn transits as some of the best times of their life in that area of experience it's moving through. So what makes the difference between this side and this side? Usually I have found it's unresolved issues from the past, because these planets will test weak links. And if you have a perception, if you have anything that you brought with you from your genealogy, from your upbringing, from past life, however you want to look at this, any of these levels, Saturn's going to test these weak links. And it's going to want you to apply the taglines of Saturn, which are hard work, persistence, consistency. And when you apply these energies to whatever area that it's, working with you, then you can convert these challenges into these outcomes. And that's really the point of it. So Saturn will show you the areas you still have to work, and Saturn will show up for you the areas where you have done work and convert them into outcomes. Saturn can definitely affect serotonin levels. It can be depressive as well. So for certain people, this may become relevant. But again, the consistency of, first of all, getting health back on track, or the consistency of inner work. Inner work is where you acknowledge that We live in a holographic reality, and everything inside the person, going on all in there, all in your being, reflects outside into the external experience, and that's what we experience as our life. So when you own this part of it and you shift on the inside, then you change what you're experiencing on the outside, or how you experience what's going on in the outside. Okay, so understanding these energies of Saturn, then you can bring this whole equation to whatever field of experience Saturn is moving through. We look at the sign, and then that will be the global experience for everybody, Saturn moving through the sign that it's in. And then we look to the house to see for the individual signs what area of experience Saturn is bringing all of these Saturnian stories to. Okay, so now that you understand Grandma Marge, my Venus, my grandmother Marge, and Saturn as this stern taskmaster and the potentials they bring, let's see where they're at for everybody. Early degree placements, you start the beginning of the month with Venus here, but it's not going to be more than a few days or so having influence in the 9th house. You middle degree placements, you will have a week, a couple of weeks, depending on your exact placement, of Venus still in the 9th house. And you late degree placements, you'll pretty much have all month with Venus in the 9th house. Venus in the 9th house brings those blessings that we talked about to everything having to do with the 9th house, which is publishing, teaching, learning, traveling, especially long distance travel, different countries, different cultures, spiritual studies, religious studies, things involving the church, can also have to do with finding creative solutions. So looking at, things from a mountain, the standpoint of a mountain, and looking down at them, the bigger picture things. So those things are all enhanced with the blessings. Money could come in through these ways. Love could come in through travel or through, one of these things. Or just in general, coherence, comfort, and sweetness. For the early degree placements, as I said, you're only going to have, a few days, depending on your exact placement, but just the earlier part of the month where Venus is going to be in that 9th house. Then it moves on to the 10th house for you early. Somewhere a week or a couple of weeks in for your middle degree placements, it will go into the 10th. And for your late degree placements, you'll start feeling this more at the end of February into March. Okay, but Venus enhancing the 10th house often brings sweetness at work. It can bring raises, it can bring recognition, it can bring promotions, it can bring new job opportunities. The eclipses are still having effect in February. So, very crowded 10th house there. Aries 10th house has been blowing up for a long time. You can see that for everybody. Early, middle, and late all have energy in the 10th house. Long term, we're talking about Venus as a short-term influence, but in February you have both short-term and long-term influence in that house. And actually, January you had short-term influence there as well. So it's all about work, career, father figures, authority figures, making your mark on the world, your place in the world. And for those of you who are retired or who are homemakers or have, for other reasons, are not out in the workforce, this 10th house is still relevant for you because we all have a dharma. We came here for something. And usually that has to do with bringing something into the world, whether it's in a small way through some close, intimate relationships, or whether that's in a big way through more, a larger group. But finding your purpose, your highest expression in this lifetime, can very much be a 10th house pursuit, because even though it's work, it's also the energy of your work out in the world, which doesn't always equate to money. And this is a funny thing about the 10th house is that, we think of it as a work house, and it is also a fame house, by the way. This could bring fame for my Aries friends in your respective fields or beyond. And that's, for all of you, just staggered with the timing, as I already said, but fame doesn't always mean money, and money doesn't always mean fame, right? But this 10th house rules them both. One ring to rule them all. So, any of those things can be very much aspected at this time. And of course, this ongoing story for Aries, Pluto in the 10th house is there for early, middle, and late degree placements. As I've been telling you guys, 10th house Pluto saying grow or die. Usually not literally die, but there's pressure on for an extended period of time for Aries placements to keep going. Now that you found a comfortable niche, can't stay comfortable. Got to go on to the next thing. Got to go on to the next thing. You got to keep growing and keep pushing. So that's really serving as impetus to, figure out what you're bringing and bring it out there. One of my favorite books for trying to figure out what the heck you're doing in the world is a book called Astrology for the Soul by Jan Spiller. It's about North Nodes. I think North Nodes are the most important placement in all of astrology. They show us where our highest expression in this lifetime is, Gosh, what could be more important than that? So if you want to have a little bit more help in trying to see what you're supposed to be doing, this is a good time energetically to do that, and that book can help you. Okay, so now let's talk about Saturn. As I said before, when we're talking about planets like Venus that move super quick, we're talking about the influence time of a few weeks, it's just like it's here and it's gone. But planets that take a long time to go around, like Saturn takes almost 30 years to move around this full thing. Venus takes, a really short amount of time. Many months. Saturn takes almost 30 years. So when Saturn is somewhere in a chart, it's just kind of dogging it there. It's just hanging out. So you can really see the difference in the early, middle, and late degree charts when you look at these outer planets. Early degree placements have had Saturn in their 10th house for like all of 2018, basically. If you're at the end of the early, like 8-9 degrees or whatever, you may have just kind of towards the end of 2018 been feeling this. But most of you early, you've really had it here in the 10th house. Okay, we'll talk about what that means in a second. I just want to get everybody on board here. So middle degree placements, you're just recently, towards the very end of the month of the 2018, beginning of 2019, Saturn has popped in for you into the 10th. Now you can see for the late degree placements, Saturn's still here in the 9th house, and it looks like it's getting close, like it would be, it's just about to go in, right? But even for those of you like very, very early part of the late placement, if it popped into the 10th house, you're starting to feel it, but it's going to go retrograde and it's going to sink back into that 9th house for an extended period of time. Okay, so you've still got your lessons for Saturn in the 9th for a little bit longer, but you're dancing with the 10th degree lessons and they're coming. Okay, so let's talk about what Saturn in the 10th means, because early and middle, you're in this right now. Late, you might be dancing with it, but it's definitely coming to be a stronger theme soon. We talked about Saturn having to do with hard work and fulfillment. I can't tell you how often Saturn in the 10th brings people to get out of the field that they're in. They want to get out. A lot of times at the pinnacle of their work, they're like, I'm doing good. Everybody loves me. Everybody knows my work. And they're like, not really interested in that now. I want to be a professional surfer or whatever. So some people will really feel the pressure, like they're not happy in their work, even if they're accomplished. So it does bring a lot of recognition often, like really reaching a pinnacle. If there's some lack of integrity or something that was undealt with, it could come back at this time to be dealt with. But it definitely can bring recognition, acknowledgement, fame, and hard work recognized with continued hard work. But it also can bring a move within a profession, like to a different division, or it can bring a retirement or a desire to get into something completely different. Okay, and sometimes people will do this at the same time as they're still in their previous field, and sometimes they'll just find this urge to make a break. But do remember that you could use some of the spoils of your accomplishments to fund what you're getting into. So try to not be hasty and just be clear if you're supposed to make a clean break or if you're supposed to bring the other thing in on the side. In general, Aries placements, early ones already went through this, middle ones have been going through this period of time. It's a major crossroads for you. So Aries people, major crossroads when this Saturn energy, and some of you late people are in this now too because of the placement of Saturn. When Saturn is opposing the 4th house cusp, it puts a lot of pressure on home. We've been talking about this because this has been going on for a while. But it's a crossroads. It's like your work is trying to expand, or there's pressure at work, but then there's also pressure at home, and then home needs more attention, work needs more attention, and feel like you're being pulled in two different directions, like part of you is going that way, and part of you is going that way. Usually spread between home and work, internal and external, things like that. But it holds so much promise for really getting to where you're trying to be. And it does favor doing hard work, but you do also have to find some balance. And a lot of times people at that crossroads can find their like super ninja, superhero self, where they're like, hey, look, I'm doing really well in both of these arenas. Look at me, I'm a superhero. So this can definitely help you there. For you late degree placements where Saturn's going to spend more time in the 9th house, sometimes this can bring a dark night of the soul where philosophies or religions or, like ways of looking at things are being tested. Sometimes this brings like a lot of building in the areas of teaching or learning. So if you're a teacher, you may see like you've been making curriculum all this time, you've been building a school or building something. Or sometimes people have been learning. They've been trying to get educated in order to bring their work out. So usually this crossover from the 9th to the 10th house can represent, from studying to teaching, or from teaching to being known in a bigger way, or, it's like a crossover where this phase of the 9th house crosses over into the 10th house. The 9th house Saturn transit can sometimes either very much solidify long distance travel, or it can put a damper on it where it's like trying to go places and you can't. So as Jupiter gets into that space, it will probably take care of that problem. Okay, so those are the things most on my mind for Aries. Now, I want to talk about those dates I love. February is one of my favorite months of the whole year to do anything important for launches, if you're bringing something out in the world, if you're making a big decision, if you're starting something new. So I'll give you the dates that I love. I'll also give you the very few dicey dates that I want you to be more careful around, and other things to know for the month. So let's look at those charts now, or that chart now. So the theme of the month for February 2019 for all signs is 3 times the sweetness. And that is because literally we have 3 times as many sweet aspects as we do challenging ones. In the beginning of January, we started these really nice open skies with the stars, the planets moving direct. But January was a little bit dicey in the way that we had 2 powerful eclipses. And for some people, those brought amazing positive changes. For others, very stressful changes. And some people were just holding space for others as they went through the changes. And some positive changes still could have carried some stress because of just the newness of them. Trying to get into a new rhythm or having it come all of a sudden can carry its own kind of stress, even if it's a very positive thing. So February is going to have a totally different energy. The open stars of having all the planets be direct is going to continue through February 18th. So we've got all that going on. And then, like I mentioned, we actually have a massive amount of sweet aspects. We do have a second supermoon that is at its 1st degree. So this whole energy of clean slate is continuing. And that's just a very, major theme for all of 2019, actually, that's being initiated here at the beginning. I'm going to give you a list of the days that have sweet aspects and a list of the days that have challenging ones, and then we'll go into some more details. But definitely remember to go to my website, AnnieHelpsYou.com, and sign up for my free email newsletter to receive a written version of these general transits delivered into your inbox a month early so that you have them visually for planning purposes. Okay, and if you are already on my email list and you're not getting my emails, then definitely check spam, social, events folders, and move them into your inbox to get your inbox the message that you want them there. Okay, so the sweet days are going to be, let's just make a little list over here. And so the sweet days, these happy ones, are going to be the 1st, the 2nd, the 3rd, 4th, 7th, 9th, 17th, 18th, 19th, 22nd, 23rd, and 27th. Okay, the challenging ones, and as I give you these dates, remember that we often feel the energy of a transit before or after the actual transit, so don't hang your hat too heavily on the exact date. Just know that present and the days around these days are the transits. Okay, so the challenging ones, where we'll just kind of put little guy having some difficulties there. Okay, so we have a challenging transit around the 1st, the 12th, the 14th, and the 22nd. And also in those days at the end of the month, there's, on March 1st, there is a challenging aspect, so you might feel some of that in the days at the end of the month. But in general, you can see a lot more sweetness there. And when you track this over time, you can really see a difference, like the mood of the month is very much directly affected by the amount of sweet aspects we have versus challenging ones. Okay, so let's just do a little summary of some of the major ones here, and then definitely go to AnnieHelpsYou.com to get a list of the rest and what you can experience with them. So on the 31st, I'm going to list the Saturn in Capricorn sextile Neptune in Pisces again. Okay, so let's see. Saturn there. Neptune there. Because as you can see, like here at the beginning of the month, they're only a degree apart. So that aspect, that beautiful 60-degree angle, it's one of the most favorable in astrology, is still going to be echoing out for many days, even a couple of weeks, the first couple of weeks of February. You'll be feeling the sweet vibes from this sweet lineup. Whenever planets that are outer planets get together, in any configuration, they last longer than the ones that move more quickly. Okay, so you'll be feeling those sweet vibes. And in general, this is characterized by material gains coming from spiritual focus and pursuits, or artistic focus and pursuits. So kind of like a blending of the sides of the brain, a blending of the seen and unseen. Okay, so the next thing around that time, and this is one you really got to watch out for. Mars in Aries square Pluto in Capricorn. Okay, so we got Mars in Aries there. Pluto in Cap here. You can see they're at 21 degrees right from the beginning there. So they're matching. And that's a square. That's like a, we don't like that one as much. Now, it is true that challenging aspects can definitely spark something important. And for the seeker, we don't have to look negatively upon these challenging aspects, because they could sometimes give us the catalyst that we need to do something, or it could be a conflict that sparks a breakthrough. But as far as like your general safety, definitely be careful around those days, because it's just the kind of energy that could actually be dangerous. You don't want to antagonize a crazy person in the beginning of the month there. You want to be careful with your physical body. You want to guard your head, guard your bones. Okay, so now we start the sweetness spree. Venus and Uranus getting together on February 2nd. So we've got Venus here. We have Uranus here. Okay, so this is going to move into configuration with this. Venus rules love, beauty, money, self-esteem, design projects. Uranus is the great awakener, the great bringer of surprises. So in the days before and after the 2nd, sweet surprises are more likely. And of course, that's happening at the same time as that awkward, possibly dangerous aspect the day before. That's why I always say we have to remember, like, these are layers of a truth that are happening all at once. And if you're trying to plan a launch or doing something important, your personal experience is going to outweigh any date something is, quote, supposed to be good. You may feel the icky aspect earlier and then the nice one later. You just got to tune in. But if you know what's going on, it helps you to follow these things. And I see it happen all the time, that people who are sensitive, people who are empathic, people who are paying attention will tend to feel like, wow, something's up in the stars, And so you have your answers here as to what's going on. Another sweet aspect on the 3rd between Mercury and Jupiter. Where are the buddies? Okay, Mercury and Jupiter. I'm going to move into configuration there. So that is really great for anything important: communication, mobility, important connections, travel, could manifest in wonderful ways, having to make important purchases for devices or cars. I love this energy for that. Then we've got the new moon at 15 degrees of Aquarius on February 4th. So lots of sweet energy there. This new moon is also in a conjunction with Mercury and a beautiful aspect with Jupiter, which enhances it. Then the sun, on the 7th, the sun is in a beautiful aspect with Jupiter. So whenever anything is in a nice aspect with Jupiter, it's like benevolence, good luck, sweetness. So the sun will move there. And then, of course, these will be together as well. So that could bring important news, important connections. More sweetness and positive surprises on the 9th with Mercury and Uranus getting together. The 12th and 13th, this is one of those times to watch, because this is where Mars and Uranus get together in Aries. So both of those can be a little bit aggressive, can be a little bit jarring. Aries energy can be a little bit physically, could be dangerous. So just watch your body. And Aries rules the head. So, and again, just don't antagonize crazy people. If you're driving, it's not the time to make some sort of negative movement towards a driver that you don't like. And also things like not texting when you're walking, just paying extra attention in the days around the 12th and 13th, because tensions will be running higher. So I always say you can prepare for these kind of energies by trying to rest, get good sleep, be relaxed, so that when they come, you can kind of just navigate through them as a spiritual ninja. I always use the example with aspects like this, like if you're a grandparent and you have your grandkids coming to visit, you could either leave out all your white linens and all your white stuff, only to have the kids destroy them, because that's just what kids do when they're playing, right? Or you can swap them out for the kid-friendly things and then have a rest-free time, so that when the chaos and madness comes, that all the things that you want to remain safe are, and you don't have to stress about them. So that's what I always think about when there's an aspect like this. Like if you know some stress is coming, and you just kind of take your magnesium, take your B vitamins, you just have your coherence plan situated, then it makes it much easier. Okay, so back to sunny skies and sweetness again with our little happy cloud there, with the 17th and 18th. We've got Venus in Capricorn making a beautiful aspect to Neptune in Pisces. And, okay, so let's show you where that is. Let me say there, Venus in Cap. Okay, so you can see here Venus is in Sag, but it is going to move into Capricorn by the 17th and 18th. And that's going to make a nice aspect with Neptune here. Dreamy, creative, spiritual breakthroughs, things like that. And then the Sun in Aquarius is going to come together with Uranus at this point in a beautiful way. Okay, so that's later in the month when this joins into a configuration with this. But again, the 17th, 18th, just sweetness. I love it for important things. Love, money, idealism, romance, art, creativity, expression of every kind, action, motivation, inspiration are just all enhanced beautifully at this time. And then the full moon, that second supermoon of the year. Supermoon is a moon that is actually closer to us. When you look at it, you're like, what? Why is the moon so big? It's because it's closer. And of course, it exerts more gravitational effects when it's closer. So it tends to be more intense, more emotional. So do prepare for an extra emotional full moon. But for the most part, there are sweet aspects with this full moon, with 0, almost 1 degrees of Virgo on the 19th. So lots of wonderful things coming to fulfillment, fruition. Could be some drama. Some people experience negative drama at the full moons, but there is a lot of sweetness at this particular full moon. Moving along to the 22nd, we've got a square. That's one of our challenging aspect days. We've got a square with Mercury and Jupiter. And where are you guys? Okay, so Mercury is going to come and Jupiter is going to be in a square. Of course, Mercury is not going to be here at this point. It's going to move over there, and that's where the square is going to happen. But, you know, communication, mobility, things like that, kind of getting a little pressure from Jupiter. Even when Jupiter has kind of like a challenging aspect, it tends to manifest in a softer way than the rest of the outer planets. So I usually list like just exhaustion for this one, like being overtired. And of course, if you're going because of all these sweet aspects and because you have this open window and because, you know, the Mercury retrograde shadow period is going to start on February 19th, which is true, then you could be tired because you're trying to fit a lot in. And really, it is important to note that I love, love, love this month up until about the 18th or 19th. So we'll just say February 1st through the 19th, or we'll even just say the beginning of January, but since we're in February, we'll talk about this through the 19th here, is some of my best favorite launch times in the whole year. You will have other opportunities, but in April, Jupiter is going to go retrograde, and it's always nice to have Jupiter direct when you do important things. And then, of course, you know, we don't have as many retrograde issues as we did last year, but it really is good to take advantage of this time. I know that I'm planning to just like run it really hard until around this point, and then just start to roll in the backdrop again. Okay, so another sweet aspect on the 23rd. Actually on the 22nd, there's one that could go either way. Venus gets together with Pluto. So Venus will make it over here to connect with Pluto. And that, you know, Pluto's intensity and Venus is love and money and self-esteem and things like that. So that could kind of go either way. Some intense news or an intense experience with love or money. Could be an ego battle, something like that. Another sweet aspect on the 23rd, another sweet aspect on the 27th, and then on March 1st, we've got that square with Venus and Uranus. It's going to come over. Of course, you can't see the square actually happening here now because Venus will have moved quite a bit, and that's when it will come into the square configuration, which is a challenge. You know, so those days at the end of the month, there could be, you know, love spats, money issues, things like that. But remember that when we're talking about aspects like with Venus, you know, usually it blows over in a couple of days. So it's not always a big deal. It might feel kind of stressful at the time. So these are the things that are most on my mind for the general transits. Really sweet month full of awesome possibilities, amazing for launches moving forward, some of the best stars of the year for doing important things. So definitely go to my website, AnnieHelpsYou.com. You can check out my blog. You can check out my astrology apprenticeship program if you love how I teach astrology and you'd like to learn for your own personal or professional purposes. If you'd love to be a coach as your profession and bring your business online, I can teach you how to do that. You can check out my coach certification and online business course, also at AnnieHelpsYou.com. Definitely check out my new publishing company, Luminous Life Books and Beyond, along with my new book, Radical Prayer. Transform your life and the world in 28 days with these magical, powerful, super effective prayers and affirmations. So you can see that at AnnieHelpsYou.com along with all kinds of other goodies. If you'd love written horoscopes by me, you can check out my website, cozybysweetstarlight.com. At cozybysweetstarlight.com, I write written horoscopes, often with different information than I share in the reports. And I always put those up a month early as well. And I've got all kinds of other lifestyle blogs written by me and other up-and-coming bloggers. If you are a traveler, you can check out my website, astrologykissedtravelbliss.com, for astrology travel reports monthly. If you are going to travel, you can see what the stars are like for traveling. And I also have other blogs on there. And definitely check out my husband's website, iamhelios.com, IAMHELIOS.com. He's always got new and different things on there, so you can check out his tarot offerings, and he also does astrology readings as well. So I hope you have a wonderful month, and I'll see you next month. Bye!